Hey guys, welcome everyone. This is Saurabh. Quick introduction. I'm an automation engineer and working in an industry for more than 11 years now. And I've worked with all these companies as an automation engineer. Automation is my day to day job, and I'm really passionate in that. This is my new website, Minister of Automation. So if you have any automation related queries, questions, if you want to collaborate with other automators in the globe, so I would request you to please visit and register yourself because we do a lot of automation transformation things on this, and some of them are free of cost, some of them you can pay and get the membership and learn new courses. So this is the next video in our series for automation framework learning path, and I thought let's start from scratch how to select right automation tool, because I know most of the people who are trying to implement the automation framework, they also come across the first step is what automation tool we should be selecting for our team, right? And I receive a lot of emails from different people asking, so what's a right or a formal way to select the automation tool. So if you guys have observed, I teach like 3 to 4 automation tools, and some of my favorite automation tools are oats, which is Oracle Automation Testing Suite, OpenScript, Selenium, Worksoft. So those are kind of automation tools, I give a training, formal training on, and I teach on YouTube as well. But if you ask me, is what's the right automation tool for a particular scenario, I may not give you a straightforward answer, because there is a formal way or a formal approach to follow before we come to a conclusion, right? So I'm going to teach you today that formal steps which you can do in your project with your client in order to come to a conclusion, in order to get the correct answer. If you have multiple automation tools in front of you and you don't know what's the best tool to select, you can follow these steps. Okay, so let's go. What we are going to cover in this video, we'll go through a formal process for a tool selection, and then what are the ways we can justify that selection, right? So a lot of times you would have came across some seniors in your team who like particular automation tool or may have an expertise on a particular automation tool, and that's why they always tend to implement the same tool in all of the project or in all the needs of your client, right? Sometimes it's, yes, it's okay to do that, because you save a lot of time doing implementation exercise and troubleshooting the things, but that may not be correct approach all the time. So that's the reason I'm teaching you these formal steps. If you are doing this automation tool selection for the first time for your team client project, you can follow these steps so that you have a correct answer, and you can share that with your business, you can share that with your manager, give a presentation that how we came to a conclusion for this tool, you know so that's the second step, which is justifying your selection. And then once you justify your selection, you need to also justify along with doing a pilot, right? Doing a demo. I'll never suggest you to do a big bang implementation, like go and purchase the license of a tool for it, 3 years or 4 years for multiple users just because you feel that's a correct tool for you to do. No, you should pilot it first, and there is a formal steps. I'm going to teach you that today. So let's get started. First of all, why it's important to select the correct tool. Of course, some of you already know why it's important, because it saves time, it saves money, it saves a lot of different things. But let's quickly list them. It prevents a loss of time, it prevents a loss of money, of course. It prevents a loss of confidence, very important. So believe me guys, I have worked in a lot of automation projects, and the one major factor in the high performing automation teams is a good confidence level. What they are doing, they are believing in it, they are doing it passionately, and it's giving them a good results. So that's very important. If you end up selecting a wrong tool, if you end up implementing it in an incorrect way, you're gonna lose the confidence, and if you lose that confidence, it's very difficult to build the same level of confidence back in a team to do a same brilliant automation. So it's very important to prevent a loss of confidence level, to prevent a loss of business. If you end up selecting a wrong tool for the business, and if business somehow decides to go with uh, some other vendor, or if they give the work to some other colleagues, because they start giving that feedback that we are not getting ROI on this project because of not getting correct automation. So that's also important to prevent a loss of business. and of course to prevent a lot of efforts, right? Doing a lot of things for 6 months or 8 months and ultimately not, no productive outcome. And of course, end of day is quality. What Why we do automation is because we want a greatest quality, or we want a good quality product to be delivered to our clients. Now we're gonna start with a formal phases of tool selection. So these are all recommendations, guys, I have came across, and I have did this personally in a lot of my projects. And believe me, it really works well, because it's a structured way, it's a step by step structured way to define and justify your selection, so that your managers, your business, everyone will be on the same page, and they all can contribute in this. It's not like one person deciding on its own that, hey, I want to work with Selenium, I want to work with OpenScript because I like it, I know it, I have skills. No, that's not the correct way to decide the tool. So that's why if you follow these phases, which I'm going to teach you today, you can get the inputs from everyone in your team, including the one who doesn't understand automation, and the one who has an expertise on automation. So let's see how to do that. So first thing is spiking it. I'm going to tell you all the different phases in that spike. And the next is pilot implementation. So basically coming up with a demo, giving the demo, collecting feedback, and again a list of things. So spiking is basically theoretical work. So let me tell you what is spike. So spike phase consists of, I would say, I have categorized those things into four important steps. The very first step is collect requirements and categorize them. So what I mean to say, collect requirements and categorize them. A requirement could be of any type. It can be a basic requirement, it can be a business requirement, it can be a technical requirement, and it can be a particular feature which you are looking for in a tool. I'm going to tell you more details in upcoming slides, but yeah, collect all the requirements. Just list it down, and also list down all the probable tools which you are thinking to select. Of course, every person has some tools in his mind when he thinks of automation tool selection, right? So list down all those tools. Then I'll tell you how to compare them. It's not apple to apple comparison, there is a way to do that. We're going to do that, we're going to see that. And then there is also a complex methodology which I'm going to teach you today, if you want to go to towards that route, which is called a scorecard mechanism. So we'll also learn that. So let's see the requirement collection, a very important phase. uh, how or what kind of requirements we will be collecting. So if you are the person who is doing all this exercise, I would recommend you to reach out to different stakeholders in your team, in your project, right from the business, right from the developers, the manual QA testing team, or the clients, a business analyst, PMs, everyone. Everyone can participate in this. And your duty would be going and asking them, hey, what do you think? Do you need this kind of feature in a tool? Are you looking to get so and so functionality in a tool? When Once you start collecting those requirements, start listing them out. Something called as, let's say, basic requirement. What to test, what kind of application you are thinking to test. Is it a UI application? It's a Oracle forms based application? It's a specific web services testing, or all these basic requirements basically. Then business requirement, sometimes this is also a game changer. Like, do you always need open source, or you are okay to spend some sort of money? And what's your budget, timeline, deadlines, and all those things, business requirements basically. And one more thing, guys, I would like to insist here is, a lot of times I come across these questions, sort of, I don't want paid tool, I only want open source, can you tell me which one is best? See, guys, let's try to understand something. I'll never say that always use open source tools. The reason, because I understand, because if you are not sure what tool to select, the basic instinct, the person will be intent to select open source tool, because they don't want to take a risk spending on it and then ultimately scrapping that project or scrapping that tool, right? But from my experience, I can tell you one thing: never underestimate the tools which are paid. Even if you need to pay something for those tools, end of day or end of your automation journey, you will realize that you would have achieved a lot, you have saved a lot of money by just spending some of it on the automation tool, or some of it on the automation training. So never underestimate that part, or don't always think that open source tools or open source projects or kind of open source material available out there is always going to help you. No, that's not the case. So don't underestimate that fact while coming up with this kind of decisions or listing out this kind of business requirements. Technical requirement. Are you only looking for functional testing? You also need performance testing, load testing. Which language do you prefer to write scripts? Do you have any system requirements that the tool needs to support, Windows or to different platforms basically? What's the skill level of your team, which is also very, very important. So what if you ultimately end up selecting a tool which can be, only Python you can write a script on, and none of your team member knows how to develop the script in Python, right? So that's why it's very important to know what's your skill level in your team, what kind of automators, what kind of uh, uh, you know developers are there in your team to develop to support that, or at least the intention to learn those things. That's also very important while collecting this technical requirement. And then what kind of feature you are looking for in a tool. Do you need a UI? Do you need an IDE? You just need a headless automation? You need to integrate it with third party tool? Reporting mechanism? You need automated emails once your execution is done? I know there is a lot of things, but believe me, this is very important. If you don't think of all these things right now, you may end up not selecting a correct tool. So even though this might look like a lot of things, but feel I can surely to tell you one thing. Once you start doing, or once you start collecting these requirements, or at least once you start putting all this in an Excel sheet one by one, definitely you will get more interest and more questions, and you may spend like 1 or 2 weeks just to do this exercise, but believe me, this is gonna give you a good result, right? This is similarly when you want to buy a new car. You just don't end up buying a car by looking at some advertisement on a TV video, TV serials, right? Because you do your own due diligence, you do your own requirement analysis. Do I need four-seater car, two-seater car? What is a mileage I need for that car? Do I need a roof or not? Like, you yourself do a lot of analysis. You do your requirement analysis before you decide what kind of car you want to purchase. Similarly, you have to do all those things for deciding which tool you want to implement. Now, once you have all those requirements in place, even though there are 60-70% of them, just keep it aside. Now list down all the tools. Definitely you would have thought of some tools, right? While doing this exercise, you will come across all these tools that, hey, let me think about OpenScript, let me think about Worksoft, Selenium, Catalan. There are a lot of tools in the market. So I'll just list down all of them and now do a comparison. That, okay, this tool satisfies almost all my basic requirement. This tool satisfies some of my business requirement, technical requirement. Basically do a mapping. Keep a tool and now go through all your requirements which you have collected and do a checkbox, like, oh, okay, I think this tool satisfies my requirement. This tool, okay, not something like that. Mapping them across your requirements. Put all your requirements in column A, put your checklist in column B, and then do a checkbox for each and every tool. So at the end of this exercise, most of the time you get your answers. A simple comparison, if you want to compare. Now once you are done individual tool comparison along with the business requirement, the next step is doing a comparison with the different tools. So this is just example, guys. So you don't need to follow this. This is a very high level example, but what I'm teaching you is a very detailed level steps. Now this is very important, and some people may not need this step. A scorecard, which we call a very detailed data decide kind of thing. By the end of business requirement collection and mapping them, I think most of the team comes to a conclusion what tool, or at least couple of tools they come, which comes in the top of their priority, which they feel that, okay, I think we are okay with this tool. But if that exercise is not sufficient for you to get the clear answer about what tool you want to proceed, then I would recommend you to follow the scorecard mechanism. What is this? You'll have to do some math. I'm going to teach you how to do that. And believe me, it is a very, very nice exercise. Okay, you'll enjoy that. So, and then let the data decide what tool you want to use. Now, how you do that? Okay, let's go to an Excel sheet now. Cool. Now, Here, if you see what I did, just concentrate on this part. So these are my all requirements. I list down all the requirements. So you no need to write each and every small requirement. Make them, categorize them to, uh, a group of categories and put it there. And now you have to give a weightage to those requirements. And all the requirements which you have listed, they should sum up to 100. Okay, just keep that thing in mind. So if you have, in this example, I have listed four requirements, and the sum of all my four requirements is 100. So basically you have to think, okay, this requirement, how important is this? I think this is very important, so let me give a weightage of 35. This is okay, that's not so important, give it 20. This is like nice to have, let me give 10. So similarly you will give a weightage, and end of day, all sum of all your requirements needs to be 100. Now score. Now how you'll decide this score? So let's say I am deciding for tool 1. So I'll see whether my tool supports this requirement, or does it satisfy this requirement if I use this tool. And based on that, you need to score your tool. If your requirement 1 is satisfied by tool 1 very nicely, then give a score of 8, like, at a higher end. Then similarly you will do a score for each and every tool, for each and every requirement, right? And then this is something called as weightage average. So if you want this kind of Excel sheet, you can visit to my website and get an access to the Excel sheet which has the all this format and calculations formulas. So this particular weightage average is will be column B into column C divided by 100. So you see, I have already mentioned it here, and this is gonna give you your weightage average. Okay, once you have an average, then what you're gonna do is you will sum all those average, and this is your final weightage average for this tool, for all your exercise whatever you have done. Similarly you're gonna do for all the rest of the tools, tool 1, tool 3, tool 4. And end of day, from the data, you will come to know that looks like tool 1 has the highest weightage average, which means looking at all my requirements, this tool satisfies most of them, or this tool scores at the scores maximum, because this tool satisfies almost all my requirements very nicely. Once you're done with all your theoretical work and all this math, now you know the tool, or maybe you have at least top two tools in your mind, or by this time most of the team comes up with a final tool. Now once you have the tool, don't just go and publish it that hey, we are decided to use this tool, and we're gonna purchase a license of it, we're gonna spend a lot of dollars and start forcing everyone to train themselves or to implement them for this tool. No, just do a one more step after this, what which is called as doing a pilot, doing a demo. So any one person in your team, or maybe you yourself, because you have done all this exercise, do a demo. Connect with the different people in industry who has already worked on this tool, maybe get a formal training on that from someone else, and at least to make yourself ready for demo, right? Get a do that demo, show it to everyone in your team, stakeholders, at least get them feedback, and then you yourself list down all the limitations and what's a plan to overcome. So let's say if someone says, Saurabh, this tool doesn't look like it's sending automated emails to me, right? And you will say, hey, I think, yeah, this tool doesn't support that. Then you will write it down that okay, I think it has a limitation. Then maybe you will also think, what's a plan to overcome it? Use some another jar files, or try to integrate with some third party which will help you to send automatic emails, something like that, right? And then at the end of this exercise, you will get more confidence, and your decision of selecting the tool will justify when you follow all these steps, right? Spiking and demoing, and in that spike you have a lot of steps, right? You have a confirm answer why you selected this tool, what was the reason for going with this tool, and it also builds a lot of confidence in you, right? So let's do a quick recap how you do the two major steps. One is spiking, basically a theoretical work in which you will collect requirements and categorize them into basic, technical, business features, right? Then you list down all the tools which you are in your mind. You'll compare all those tools against your collected requirements. If that doesn't help you to get that tool, then you follow the scorecard mechanism, the Excel sheet math which I shared you, right? I think, and then after that you will do a pilot. You'll give a demo, get a feedback, and then you'll have a correct answer. So I hope this is going to help you to come up with the right automation tool. And please subscribe to my channel. Thanks.